Hello and welcome. If you are listening to this right now, you have made it through another day. Whatever it held, whatever weight it carried, you are here now. And that is enough. Let your body settle wherever it rests. Let your shoulders drop, just a little. Let your hands go soft and loose. Feel the surface beneath you, steady and warm and completely still. There is nothing you need to hold on to tonight. We are going to take a very slow, very quiet journey together into the science of one of the most ancient, most mysterious, most deeply comforting companions the human world has ever known. The cat. Not a loud journey, not a complicated one, just a soft drift through what science has quietly discovered about these small, graceful creatures who have lived beside us for 10,000 years. So take one slow breath in and let it drift out. Let your eyes grow heavy, and as the night settles all around you, let yourself float gently forward into the world of cats. There is something deeply calming about a cat. You may have felt it before, sitting in a quiet room watching a cat sleep, the way its chest rises and falls, slowly, softly. The way it seems entirely unbothered by the world, entirely at peace. Scientists have noticed this too. For thousands of years, humans and cats have shared something quiet, a kind of companionship that doesn't ask much. A cat doesn't need you to explain yourself. It doesn't need you to be anything other than what you are. It simply settles nearby and breathes. What science has slowly uncovered is that this calming quality is not accidental. It is woven into the very biology of a cat, into the way they purr, the way they move, the way they sleep, the way they see the world. Tonight, we drift gently through all of it. We will begin long ago, 10,000 years in the past, when the first cats began to draw close to human settlements in the ancient quiet of the Fertile Crescent. And from there, we will wander slowly forward into the neuroscience of a purr, the quiet physics of a cat's body, the way a cat's eyes hold a kind of ancient light, and perhaps by the end, you will understand why, even now, a sleeping cat in a quiet room feels like one of the most peaceful things in the world. But for now, just breathe and let the story begin. Somewhere, right now, a cat is sleeping in a patch of sunlight. It has stretched itself across a warm surface, completely still, completely soft, completely unbothered. Its paws are tucked beneath its chest. Its eyes are closed. Its breathing is long and slow and steady, and it has been doing this in almost exactly this way for 10,000 years. The story of how cats came to live beside us is not a story of conquest or training. It is quieter than that. It is, in many ways, the story of a choice, a slow, unhurried choice made not by humans, but by the cats themselves. 10,000 years ago, in the ancient crescent of land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, the region we now call the Middle East, early human settlements were beginning to store grain. Great stores of wheat and barley gathered against the long months of winter, and wherever grain was stored, rodents followed, and wherever rodents gathered, wild cats came. These were small wild cats, a species called Felis sylvestris libica. They were not so different from the cats we know today. Slender, quiet, watchful. They moved through the edges of human settlements like soft shadows, hunting the mice and rats that came for the grain. And humans noticed, not with fear, but with something quieter, something like gratitude, something like recognition. The cats were not tamed exactly. They were not captured or bred or trained into service. They simply stayed. And over generations, slowly across hundreds of years, the cats that were least afraid of humans began to linger a little closer, to stay a little longer, to settle sometimes near the warmth of a fire. This is what scientists call commensal domestication, a process where an animal moves into the human world on its own terms, drawn by advantage, and gradually becomes something softer, something more accustomed to our presence, something changed, gently, by the long proximity of a life shared. The cat chose us, and in choosing us, it changed, very slowly, very gently, in one remarkable way. The cats that stayed close to humans began to develop something their wild ancestors did not have, the ability to meow at an adult. Wild cats, it turns out, do not meow at each other as adults. Kittens meow to call their mothers, to signal hunger or cold or fear. But adult wild cats are mostly silent with one another. The meow as we know it is something cats developed specifically to communicate with humans. A sound tuned across thousands of years to reach us, and it is tuned remarkably well. Scientists have found that the frequency of a cat's meow falls within the same range as a human infant's cry, somewhere between 300 and 1000 hertz, a range that the human brain is specifically wired to respond to notice, to feel something about. The cat, in other words, learned to speak to us, not in words, not in complicated signals, but in something older and softer than words, a sound shaped across eons of quiet coevolution to reach the part of us that listens. And we did listen. Across 10,000 years, in every culture that cats touched, in ancient Egypt, where they were considered sacred and honoured with burial rites, in ancient Rome, where they kept the grain stores of an empire, aboard the trading ships of the ancient world, where cats were carried to protect precious cargo across vast timeless seas, humans listened, and cats settled closer. There is something ancient about the feeling of a cat nearby, something that reaches back further than memory, a kind of deep, quiet familiarity, like recognizing something you have always known. You don't need to understand it. You don't need to name it. Just let it settle over you, like warmth, like the slow sound of breathing in a quiet room. And as we drift from the ancient past, we find ourselves drawn, softly, toward the sound that has always been at the center of this bond, the purr. There is perhaps no sound in the world quite like a cat purring. It is low and steady and warm. It seems to come from somewhere deep inside the cat, from some quiet engine that runs on its own, without effort, without asking anything of the world around it. And for a long time, science didn't fully understand it. We knew that cats purred. We knew that they purred when content, but also, strangely, when frightened, when in pain, when giving birth, when dying. The purr, it turns out, is not simply a sound of happiness. It is something older and deeper than happiness. A cat purrs by rapidly dilating and constricting the glottis, the part of the larynx that surrounds the vocal cords. As air flows in and out during breathing, this rapid movement creates a soft, continuous vibration, not just a sound, a frequency, a physical wave moving through the air, and through anything the cat is resting against. And that frequency falls between 25 and 150 hertz. Here is where something remarkable begins to unfold. Sound vibrations between 25 and 50 hertz have been shown in scientific studies to promote the healing of bones. Vibrations between 100 and 200 hertz promote the healing of soft tissue and tendons. The very frequencies at which a cat purrs overlap almost perfectly with the frequencies that help living tissue regenerate and repair. Some researchers believe that purring evolved, in part, as a kind of internal healing mechanism, a way for a small animal that rests for long, still hours to keep its bones dense, its muscles strong, its body quietly repairing itself during the vast, unhurried hours of sleep. The cat may be, in the quietest possible way, healing itself every time it rests, and perhaps healing something in us too. Studies have found that people who live with cats have measurably lower rates of heart attack and stroke, that the simple presence of a purring cat can lower blood pressure, that the sound of a purr activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the part of us responsible for rest, repair, and release, the part of us that says, "You are safe, you can let go." When you hear a cat purr, something in your body responds before your mind has time to think about it. Something softens. Your breath slows, your shoulders drop. The world grows a little quieter. This may be, in part, why cats have been found beside humans for 10,000 years. Not only as hunters of mice, not only as companions in the practical sense, but as something older, something more subtle. A living, breathing, purring presence that carries in its very vibration the frequency of calm. Somewhere, right now, a cat is purring in the dark, its eyes half closed, its body completely still, its breath moving slow and deep, and the sound of it is moving through the air like a slow, soft wave. Let that wave move through you now. You don't need to do anything with it. Just let it pass through, warm and low and steady. Let your body grow a little heavier. Let your breathing slow to match it. There is nothing to hold, nothing to carry. Just this. Soft, steady sound. And as we drift from the quiet science of the purr, we find ourselves drawn to something equally astonishing. The extraordinary body that carries it. A cat can fall from a height of 30 stories and land safely. This sounds impossible, and yet it is true. Documented in careful studies from veterinary hospitals in New York City, where researchers examined the injuries of cats that had fallen from high-rise buildings. What they found was surprising. The cats that fell from greater heights often had fewer injuries than those that fell from lower floors. The reason is slow and beautiful and strange. As a cat falls, it enters what physicists call terminal velocity, the point at which air resistance balances the pull of gravity, and the body stops accelerating downward. For a cat, this happens at around 60 miles per hour, much lower than for a human. And once a cat reaches terminal velocity, something remarkable happens in its nervous system. It relaxes. The muscles, which had been tense with the shock of falling, soften. The legs spread wide. The body flattens slightly, like a small living parachute. The breathing steadies, and in this loose, soft, completely relaxed state, the cat's body absorbs impact the way only softness can absorb impact, gently, quietly, without breaking. There is something extraordinary in that the secret to surviving a fall is to stop resisting it, to go soft, to release. The rest of a cat's body carries this same quiet genius. A cat has no rigid collarbone, or rather, a very small, free-floating clavicle that does not lock its shoulders in place the way a human's does. This means a cat can slip through any opening large enough for its head. It means the front legs can rotate and reach and extend in ways that allow a liquid, gliding movement, a movement that appears effortless even when the cat is moving with precision and speed. The spine of a cat is held together by muscles rather than ligaments, giving it a deep, quiet flexibility that allows it to arch, to stretch, to coil, and to spring without any of the stiffness we feel in our own bodies. And then there are the paws. A cat walks on its tiptoes, always, with every single step. The soft, thick pads beneath its toes absorb both sound and shock. The retractable claws stay hidden and protected until needed, kept sharp by their own quiet stillness. Each step is placed with a precision that leaves almost no trace, almost no sound. A cat moving through a room at night is almost entirely silent. It is a body designed for quiet, for patience, for the long, unhurried approach, for softness as a kind of power. And there is something deeply restful about that, about a creature that moves through the world not with force, but with an effortless, gliding ease. Let your own body remember that now. Let your muscles soften. Let your hands uncurl. Let your jaw relax. You don't need to hold anything in place tonight. You don't need to brace against anything. Just like a cat falling through the dark, you can let go. And as we drift from the quiet physics of a cat's body, we find ourselves drawn, gently, toward the way a cat sees the world. A cat's eyes are extraordinary things. They are large, very large, relative to the size of the skull, much larger proportionally than human eyes, and in low light, the pupils open wide, becoming vast, dark, almost liquid pools that seem to gather the night inside them. In those wide, still, open eyes, the world looks very different than it does to us. Cats do not see the vivid spectrum of colours that we do, where we see a world of bright reds and warm oranges and rich greens. A cat sees something quieter, more muted, closer to the palette of twilight, blues and yellows and gentle greys mostly. The bright, saturated colours of our world soften, for a cat, into something more like a landscape seen through evening air. But what cats lose in colour, they more than reclaim in light. In the retina of a cat's eye, there are far more rod cells than cone cells. Rod cells are the photoreceptors responsible for detecting light and movement in low light conditions, the cells that allow us to see shapes in a darkened room, the cells that never truly sleep. A cat has so many of them that it can see in light 6 times dimmer than the minimum a human eye requires, and deep at the back of a cat's eye lies a layer of tissue that has no equivalent in our own, the tapetum lucidum, a word from Latin meaning bright tapestry. This layer acts like a mirror. Any light that passes through the retina without being absorbed is caught by the tapetum lucidum and reflected back, given a second chance to be seen, gathered, and held. It is this layer that causes a cat's eyes to glow when caught in the beam of a headlight or a flashlight at night. That soft, green-gold gleam that seems to come from somewhere inside the animal. That glow is the light of the world being gathered, being kept. A cat moving through the darkness of a quiet house at night sees a world softly lit, rich with edges and gradients and the slow drifting movements of shadows. A world not of sharp colours, but of light and texture and the subtle movement of air. Silence has a shape. In the world a cat sees, stillness has a texture. And a cat moving through that quiet, luminous world does so with a kind of calm attention, not anxious, not searching for anything in particular, simply watching, simply present, simply existing inside the enormous, unhurried stillness of now. Somewhere, right now, a cat is sitting in a dark room, watching the play of shadows across a wall. Its eyes are open and still and ancient. It is not afraid of the darkness. It is simply inside it, sitting in the quiet, watching without wanting anything to change. Let your own eyes rest behind their lids now. Let the darkness behind them be soft rather than empty, full of the same quiet light a cat sees in a room at night. you are not missing anything. Everything you need is right here in this soft and drifting dark. And as we drift from the ancient light of a cat's eyes, we find ourselves drawn gently toward the science of something cats do more beautifully than almost any other creature on earth: sleep. Cats sleep between 12 and 16 hours a day. Some cats, older cats, very young cats, cats in very warm and comfortable homes, sleep as many as 20 hours out of every 24. For most of their lives, cats exist in a state that is somewhere between sleep and waking, a light, drifting alertness that is not quite either, but carries the quality of both. An unhurried rest that does not apologize for itself, that does not rush toward waking. In this, they are something like masters of what humans have always struggled to find. The neuroscience of sleep tells us that the brain during sleep does extraordinary and necessary things. It consolidates memories, gently moving the experiences of the day from short-term storage into the deeper, quieter archives of long-term memory. It clears metabolic waste, literally flushing the brain with cerebrospinal fluid, washing away the byproducts of a day's thinking and feeling. It repairs tissue. It regulates hormones. It processes emotion. A sleeping brain is not an idle brain. It is a brain doing some of the most important work it will ever do, quietly, without any effort from us, without us needing to do anything at all except rest. A cat's brain does all of this, and it does it often, and perhaps more beautifully than anything else. A cat does not resist sleep. It does not feel guilty about rest. It does not scroll through a bright screen before closing its eyes. It does not replay the events of the day, or rehearse tomorrow's worries, or lie awake wondering if it has done enough. A cat, when tired, simply goes still. It finds a warm place, a patch of afternoon light, a soft folded blanket, the slow rise and fall of a familiar chest, and it settles. Its breathing slows, its muscles release, one by one, into softness. Its eyes drift closed, and within minutes, it is dreaming. Scientists have observed cats in REM sleep, the deep rapid eye movement phase of dreaming, and found that the brain patterns during this state are almost indistinguishable from a human brain in the same phase. The same slow delta waves, the same brief bursts of rapid activity, the same small involuntary twitches of paws and whiskers that suggest a mind moving through some inner world. Cats dream. What do they dream of? No one knows for certain, but studies of brain activity suggest that sleeping animals often replay the experiences of their waking hours, movements, sensations, the textures of familiar places. Perhaps, in sleep, a cat runs through warm grass. Perhaps, it climbs toward a high, distant place. Perhaps it simply drifts through warm darkness, following the slow, ancient rhythm of its own breath. Whatever it dreams of, it dreams without fear. It rests completely, in the way only a creature can rest, when it fully trusts the world around it. And there is something in that trust, in the sight of a sleeping cat, its paws gently curled, its face perfectly still. That is an invitation, a quiet, wordless invitation to do the same. Let your breathing slow now. Let your body grow heavy and warm, sinking softly into whatever holds you. You are safe here. The night is quiet. There is nothing waiting for you that cannot wait until morning. Just rest. Just drift, like a cat in a warm afternoon, completely still, completely safe, completely at peace. And as we drift from the science of sleep, we find ourselves drawn, gently, toward the last and perhaps most tender question of all. What does a cat feel for us? For a long time, people believed that cats did not truly form attachments, that they were solitary creatures, fundamentally indifferent to humans, that they tolerated us and our warmth and our food, but did not, in any deep or meaningful sense, care whether we were there. Science has quietly shown otherwise. In 2019, researchers at Oregon State University conducted a study of cat behavior using a method called the Secure Base Test, a test originally designed to measure attachment in human infants and later adapted to study bonding in dogs. In the test, a cat is brought into an unfamiliar room, first with its owner, then left alone, then reunited with its owner. What the researchers found was remarkable. Cats whose owners returned showed measurable, consistent signs of secure attachment, the same behavioural signature seen in human children with secure bonds to their caregivers. Their stress responses decreased. Their behaviour became more exploratory and relaxed. They moved freely through the room when their trusted human was present, and became more still when alone. 65% of cats in the study showed clear, secure attachment to their owners. The number was nearly identical to the rate of secure attachment measured in human infants. A cat, it turns out, can bond to a human in the same deep, neurological way that a child bonds to a parent. And at the heart of this bond is a small, quiet molecule called oxytocin. Oxytocin is sometimes called the bonding hormone, released in the brain during moments of connection, of closeness, of trust. In humans, it flows during a warm embrace, during eye contact with someone we love, during the first moments a parent holds a newborn child. When a cat approaches a human it trusts, when it presses its forehead against a familiar hand, when it settles into the warmth of the body it has chosen, its brain releases oxytocin, the same molecule, the same ancient chemistry of belonging. And a cat communicates this trust in its own particular way. The slow blink. You may have seen it, a cat looking at you from across a quiet room, and then, very slowly, letting its eyes close and open again. Not a blink of distraction or drowsiness. Something deliberate, something offered. Scientists have found that the slow blink is a form of feline communication, a signal, given gently, that says, "I am not afraid of you. I am at peace in your presence. I trust you." When you slow blink back at a cat, it often slow blinks in return. A conversation, conducted entirely in the language of softness. There is something quietly extraordinary in all of this. That across 10,000 years of shared history, across all the vast changes and upheavals and migrations of human civilization, this small, graceful creature developed a way of telling us it loves us, not in loud ways, not in complicated ways, but in the slow closing of an eye in a quiet room, in the warm weight of a body settling close, in the low, steady sound of a purr, moving gently through the dark, somewhere. Right now, a cat is pressing its forehead against the hand of the person it trusts most in the world, and in its brain oxytocin is flowing, quietly, warmly, like a slow river through a long summer afternoon. It is not asking for anything. It is not performing. It is simply present, simply trusting, simply here. Let that feeling settle into you now. The feeling of being trusted, of being known, of being chosen, gently, without drama, by something ancient and soft and entirely sincere. You don't need to hold on to it. Just let it drift through you, warm and quiet. And as we drift from the neuroscience of a cat's quiet love, let us take one last, slow breath together and rest in everything we have found tonight. We have travelled a long way tonight, through ancient fields at the edge of the first human settlements, where small wild cats moved through the shadows, watching and slowly, chose to stay. Through the soft, low vibration of a purr, older than language, carrying frequencies that the body understands before the mind does. Through the quiet physics of a body designed for softness, for patience, for the long, unhurried stillness, through wide, luminous eyes, gathering the darkness gently, seeing a world made entirely of light and shadow and slow drifting movement. Through the deep, forgiving science of sleep, the body releasing, the mind drifting, dreaming without fear in the dark, and through the quiet neuroscience of a bond 10,000 years in the making, a slow blink across a quiet room, a purr, a warm weight settling close. You are part of something ancient and continuous tonight. The same warmth that gathered in those first human settlements still gathers now. In quiet rooms, in soft lamplight, in the slow, steady breathing of a small creature that chose long ago to stay close. Let your body grow heavier now. Let your breath grow slower. Somewhere, right now, a cat is sleeping. Its chest rises and falls. Its paws are soft. The world is quiet around it. And you are drifting. Just like that. And so, we come to rest here. At the gentle end of this quiet journey, I hope something in tonight's story has settled into you, not as facts to remember, not as things to carry with you tomorrow, but just as a feeling, a soft and ancient feeling that you are part of something continuous, something vast and quiet and warm. You were here tonight, you rested, and that is enough. Let your eyes stay closed, let your breathing keep slowing. The night is long and warm around you, and there is no need to surface yet. If you find yourself still awake, let the words drift past you like clouds across a dark sky. There is no need to hold any of them, just rest here, soft and still. If you'd like to keep listening, there are more quiet journeys waiting for you. But for now, sleep well. You are safe. You are warm. Good night.